So when a major political conflict is happening in Captain America's Civil War, where is this man? Was he on Team Cap or Team Iron Man? Did he win his second term? If yes, did Thanos snap the president? Why is this man never brought up again, Marvel? Why can't you recognize the keynote that is Iron Man 3 like I do, Marvel?
Hail Hydra.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Duel of the Takes. Last week, we just got a new president sworn into office. I don't know how it went down. We're recording this a week in advance, so
let us know if that didn't happen.
Yeah, a smooth transition of power is exactly what happened.
Wonder Woman and Cheetah were not at the Capitol building.
Through this tier list, we are going to determine the best and the worst TV and movie presidents. We all wrote up a couple summaries for these presidents, and then we're all going to decide where they belong on our tier list. Josh, you want to go first?
I'll start with Chris Rock. May's Gillian is from the 2003 film Head of State, starring Chris Rock. Almost said Chris Brown.
Oh, jeez.
A wild fact about this film, too, is that it was distributed by DreamWorks. So, in my mind, this is canon to Shrek.
Now, Josh, does this film take place before or after Shrek in the timeline?
I would say during.
Well, what does he do as president, Josh?
Good question. I've never seen this movie.
Could it be said that he is the head of state?
He's the head of the Democratic Party to run for president after the party's presidential and vice presidential nominees are killed in a plane crash.
I would say this sounds at least meh, maybe even electable.
I mean, to be fair, yeah, if someone I supported did die and Chris Rock took their place, I'd still vote for them.
He is very charismatic.
Gotcha. All right, I agree with meh.
All right, meh for now.
He was serving as vice. The president resigned, he took position, then got reelected, then he resigned, and then his wife, who was his vice and also divorcing him, was then moved up the president.
Sounds about right.
Was there any reason in particular that it was his wife that became president afterwards?
She was the vice.
No production issues, no like scheduling conflicts.
No, nothing out of the ordinary.
Do you think that it's a case of like Kevin Spacey's actual character getting involved in him playing this character?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. The last 3 Christmas Eves, he's been pretty much playing this character on YouTube. I would honestly say that this is the definition of a lay off the weed president, and here is why. It's like a caricature almost of real presidents, and where it's like, oh, they're probably like horrible people behind the scenes, but they come off so charming or whatever.
That's interesting. I'm down for that.
Up first, we've got Dave Kovic, played by Kevin Klein in the movie Dave. An everyday car salesman and President Bill Mitchell impersonator named Dave takes over the role of president while the real president is in a coma caused by a heart attack after sleeping with a White House staffer. This everyman turned president takes the new job with a lot of excitement, more excitement than any of the security detail or cabinet members want from him, but begins an increase in President Bill Mitchell's popularity. Bill Mitchell then wakes up from his coma, only to die 5 months later, and all the conspirators who put this implant in his place get fired, and then the vice president takes over for Bill Mitchell. Dave decides that after this crazy run as being the president for a few months, that he should run for local office.
You know, would I vote for him? Probably.
I would go beyond actually voting for this guy and would actually actively campaign for him.
I was thinking the same thing.
This guy's like who we need to run our country. I'm campaigning for this man. It's Kevin Klein, for crying out loud.
You know what? Your campaign sold me, and I am now also campaigning.
Yeah.
Tom Beck from Deep Impact. Probably the most realistic depiction of a president on my list. Tom Beck is interested in keeping the public as calm as possible in the face of oncoming disaster, but also, like a true career politician, Tom always presents himself with poise and grace and wields his power expertly, almost to like a nearly frightening degree. Like, I can seriously see like what I would like an actual president to be and what I always thought an actual president was, like being exactly like this, like both behind the scenes and when he's addressing the nation. I think that he is absolutely electable.
I don't know if I would vote for him, but I definitely think people should.
Yeah, I don't think I would campaign for him, but I would be okay if this guy was my president.
James Sawyer is played by Jamie Foxx in White House Down, a movie that I thought was Olympus Has Fallen. But these are two completely different movies. And in this movie, the president takes, it's more of an action movie type president. He hangs out with Channing Tatum, before both of them got to be in Tarantino movies.
Do you think Tarantino liked White House Down more than Olympus Has Fallen?
I think he thinks Olympus Has Fallen is a little too pretentious because it's a book adaptation, whereas White House Down is just like a dumb action movie.
I don't know anything about his policy, but I might actively campaign for this guy.
Hey, he is also the chief commander.
Yeah, that's what the president is, the commander.
The commander-in-chief. Are we thinking electable for this guy?
I'm not going to campaign for this guy, but the more I think about it, the more I'm thinking he is actually electable.
I think electable is fine, yeah. Merkin Muffly. He's based on a UN ambassador, Adlai Stevenson. His name, right? Merkin is a pubic wig. I didn't know that existed. And muff is slang for vagina. He's adamantly against setting off the doomsday machine and is seen as the voice of reason amongst his advisors. Despite being a very timid man, he is not afraid to stand his ground.
Alden, of all the fictional characters we've ever talked about on the show, personally, Merkin Muffly reminds me the most of you.
Thank you, I think.
You're at this table of screaming generals telling him to launch nukes, and he's just like, no, I don't think I will.
Okay, yeah, that does sound like me.
I respect that about you.
Personally, I would actively campaign for him solely because he doesn't want to use the nuke.
Yeah, I'm also thinking unelectable just because, like, I don't know. I feel like the whole thing with him, like, not wanting to launch the nukes is also just him also being a hairy pussy.
Josh, what's your take here?
I'm thinking unelectable. It's just but also kind of electable because like he is also that politician where he's like.
This to me sounds like a perfect meh for now. I think we can put him at the bottom of meh. The former 37th president of the United States, who will someday become the 30th president of Earth, according to Futurama's portrayal of the year 3000. He reflects quite often on his past run as president of the United States, while also ruling Earth with an iron fist. He always remains ahead in the polls. He also notes that the moon landing was indeed faked, but wasn't staged in Hollywood, but rather on Venus. He appears both on the $1,000 bill and the $300 bill. He also keeps the head of his dead dog Checkers in his office and is a big fan of Ultimate Robot Fight.
Mm-hmm.
I would personally say I would actively campaign for the head of Richard Nixon.
Damn. If it was just the head of Richard Nixon, I could see unelectable. But it's the head of Richard Nixon and the body of Vice President Agnew.
I was going to say lay off the weed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I felt also.
That would be so wild to have him at the top.
Thomas Wilson holds a G8 meeting in 2010 after reading a report that says a cataclysmic event will end all life on Earth in 2012. Apparently, he doesn't say anything that cool because he dies in said cataclysmic event after seemingly just sanctioning a military takeover of Yellowstone and not saying anything about the arc to save the most wealthy people on the planet. He's played by Danny Glover, though, so that's cool.
I'm going to say it. This is the first one that would be in the world, would destroy our country/world.
Yeah, it did in the movie.
He does.
Wrath Cock is played by the very controversial Charlie Sheen. Imagine going into the voting booth and putting a check mark next to Cock, or have signs that says Cock 2020.
Well, his last name's Wrathcock, but yeah, you're right. Cock 2020.
But a lot of people did vote for Bush.
This is a whole big meme, and I think it's gotta be in Lay Off the Weed. That picture alone that we have in the tier.
President Marcus Robbins, portrayed by Mark Cuban. He is the president in the disaster movie Sharknado 3, Oh Hell No. He is about to present Sharknado 1 and 2 destroyer Finn Shepard a Medal of Honor, but then another Sharknado breaks out, and he fights alongside Finn to stop the Sharknado from destroying the White House. But then he remains to hold that ground while Finn goes and saves the rest of the world from the incoming shark hurricane.
Hail to the chief.
God, remember when life was simpler and Sharknado was the wackiest thing happening?
I personally think that this is another case of lay off the weed, but then the more I think about it, it's truly unelectable.
Mark Cuban is just unelectable.
Yeah, he would also run as third party, which won't help his chances. President Selena Mayer from Veep. She ran for president, didn't get past the primaries, and the primary winner asked her to run with them, as Biden did with Kamala. Despite being hailed as the first female president and vice president, she is generally considered to be one of the most ineffective presidents in American history, and her presidency is usually ranked among the worst. Meyer's most noteworthy achievements are said to be the temporary independence of Tibet until it returned to Chinese sovereignty in the early 2020s, as well as the repeal of same-sex marriage.
Oof.
Based?
Just by that synopsis alone, she's unelectable.
Yeah.
I think she's very clearly unelectable, but that doesn't mean she's not going to run the country in a couple years.
President from Escape from New York gets kidnapped and doesn't care about the people who died for him. Too based for this world. I feel like he's also unelectable, unfortunately.
Imagine being such a good friend to Sandler as you president of the United States, even when your name is Kevin James. I'd say the most dangerous mission a movie president has done since Independence Day. He has to fight Pac-Man, and he also needs to pretend that Josh Gad is funny.
I'm going to say it. I think Will Cooper is electable.
I agree.
I think he will get the gamers vote.
I've been looking for an everyman president.
He might be over Jamie Foxx. He might be over Morgan Freeman. This might be the most electable man we have had so far.
I agree.
Gamers, rise up.
Gamers truly did today.
This president has been in multiple plane crashes. Harrison Ford as James Marshall in Air Force One. He was an Air Force helicopter aviator who fought in the Vietnam War and received the Medal of Honor after flying a whole bunch of rescue missions. For some reason, he is conveniently fluent in Russian and has a very globalist view on the US's foreign policy, but is also very adamant that the US does not negotiate with terrorists.
And he really doesn't want Gary Oldman on his plane.
Get off my plane. I love this movie. Air Force One's a great action movie. It's Die Hard on a plane, but the president is John McClane.
I liked that rhyme there. I would read that Dr. Seuss book.
I think he's electable.
Electable between Morgan Freeman and
Jack Staton, the satirical caricature of Bill Clinton from the 1998 film Primary Colors, is played by none other than John Travolta. The Southern governor is hot on the campaign trail, but after it is revealed that he has a previous arrest record but was bailed out by a senator, it becomes more clear that there are loose ends to cover up from his past. The campaign attack strategy then shifts to be more aggressive, where Jack Stanton knocks out another Dem in the race by saying he's been voting for anti-Israeli legislature and plans to cut Medicare and Social Security. Stanton then goes after another competitor, Fred Picker, who is ahead of him in the polls. But his campaign discovers that Fred Picker not only has a cocaine addiction, but is having a homosexual affair with his drug dealer. So then their campaign manager, Libby, agrees that the campaign should not release this information and should fight the rest of the campaign truthfully and honestly. But then, pressured by his wife Hillary, Susan, Bill, Jack, leaks Fred Picker's drug use and gay tendencies to the press. Their campaign manager, Libby, then commits suicide, and then we hard cut to Jack's inauguration where he gets sworn in.
I'm really excited for our commentary track on this. Just objectively electable.
Unfortunately. I think this is a better portrayal of Frank Underwood than Frank Underwood.
Thomas J. Whitmore was the president whose house got blown up by aliens in one of the most beloved action blockbusters of all time, Independence Day. Despite the lack of faith in the strength of his character from the American people, when faced with an intergalactic threat that threatens the Earth, President Whitmore shows not only America, but the entire world what kind of leader he is, while his cabinet, vice president evacuate to NORAD when aliens arrive on Earth. President Whitmore stays in DC to address and calm the nation. When aliens kill millions just too soon for his order to evacuate, President Whitmore doesn't give up. He organizes. Failed plan after failed plan to find a way to destroy the aliens and their ships doesn't stop Whitmore, even at the cost of his own safety. When a final plan to disable the aliens' shields and upload a virus to disable their systems so that the world could unite against the alien menace is made, President Whitmore personally leads the attack and gives possibly the greatest speech delivered by a cinematic president in history, rousing the entire world into battle against total annihilation. I would absolutely campaign for this man.
Yeah, there's not too many people on this planet that I'd campaign for, but this president I would.
There's no way this guy didn't win a second term. Whoever tried to run against him, damn. President Richard Martinez from Cory in the House is the man I trust the most on this list. President Martinez is truly the man of the people when he gives Cory's dad a chance to be his personal chef and lets Cory live in the White House with him. Not only is Cory in the House a national treasure on its own, it's one of the most diverse Disney Channel shows, and of course, it's everyone's favorite anime.
It is my favorite anime. I will say that.
I would actively campaign for this man because we need a Latino president.
I think Richard Martinez is at least electable, maybe even would campaign for.
I would actively campaign for that man.
I would probably campaign.
I'm so glad he's up there.
David Palmer from 24. Honestly, I don't think I've ever heard of 24.
What? It's Die Hard the show. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, 24 is like pretty huge. It's been like remade and brought back like 5 times.
He was the longest serving president to appear in 24 and the only one to serve for an entire 4-year term. The IP address of his computer was 292.162.12.2.
Damn, you're really just gonna dox my mans like that?
All I can say is, with this man as president, we're all in good hands.
The campaign is right there.
I think that voice alone, it's somebody I would vote for.
I would actively campaign.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe more so than Richard Martinez, sorry. Andrew Shepard, played by gay actor Michael Douglas, in the film An American President, is bracing for an upcoming re-election, but is bogged down by the stress of being a lonely widower. He tries to pass a bill that will reduce the crime rate nationwide, and it would somehow secure re-election for him. An environmentalist named Sidney Wade, played by Annette Bening, proposes a stronger bill that will diminish the United States carbon footprint. Shepard then falls in love for this woman and her ideas. President Shepard then gives up on the crime bill as well, pretty much forfeiting re-election, only to win more votes on the environmental bill, and then promises to have a stronger stance on gun control in his second term. I don't like this dude's policy, and he seems really wishy-washy.
I think Mez fine.
I'm surprised that we don't have more would destroy our country or world.
We're getting there.
James Dale is basically Thomas J. Whitmore, but in a movie where the aliens are Chads. He has a speech nearly as good as Whitmore's, makes the aliens cry, but then dies like a bitch.
I remember his first lady being more of a badass than him, and I think she's played by Glenn Close, so that alone is pretty lay off the weed.
Honestly, if it wasn't for some old lady listening to some shitty yodeling, he would have destroyed our entire country/world. He thought that the aliens were peaceful, and they totally weren't.
Can't we all just get along?
He would destroy our country. Put him down there.
All I'm saying is Marvel was really confident about Mitt Romney winning, it looks like. But also kind of the biggest simp on this whole list, because he is not only the president in Iron Man 3, but technically the president of the entire MCU. So when a major political conflict is happening in Captain America Civil War, where is this man? Was he on Team Cap or Team Iron Man? Did he win his second term? If yes, did Thanos snap the president? Why is this man never brought up again, Marvel? Why can't you recognize the Kino that is Iron Man 3 like I do, Marvel?
Hail Hydra.
Like, this dude definitely did not win re-election in this universe either.
It is really weird that we've never seen the president again in the MCU.
Do you guys remember Obama being in Transformers 2?
President Hathaway, voiced by Stephen Colbert, is the president of the United States during the events of Monsters vs. Aliens. He initially tries to make peace with the alien visitors by playing a keyboard rendition of his favorite song, Axel F., from the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack. This stunt, inspired by the finale of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, fails. Then, immediately, President Hathaway reaches for a sidearm and fires at the oncoming aliens. Noticing how little damage human arms do to this alien race with his own eyes, President Hathaway then calls upon an army of cryptids and monsters to fight the aliens for him and his army.
That's pretty based.
I think that this is really the same level of action hero president as Air Force One Harrison Ford.
I agree.
He's leading by example.
He is a high roller and a risk taker, and for that, I would probably even almost campaign for him.
I feel like above Harrison Ford is the right place for him.
President Dwayne Elizondo, Mountain Dew, Herbert Camacho from Idiocracy. Played by Terry Crews with long straight hair, not a good look for him. Before serving as president, Dwayne Elizondo, Mountain Dew Herbert Camacho was a pro wrestler and a porn star. His State of the Union speech may have been vulgar, might possibly break in the song, perhaps could have live ammunition fired into the ceiling, and might even have a wrestling entrance with spotlights and smoke machines. But he makes convincing promises to the people on someone else's behalf. I think he's a really good politician, despite the state of the U.S.
I think that this president also can exist and is almost a little too real.
Yeah, I didn't want to be the one to say it, but we're all thinking it.
In today's world, unfortunately, this man's is electable, but in any other time in human history, I would say he's unelectable. So
lands in a pretty good spot between Tom Beck and Harrison Ford. Unelectable for me.
Jory, will you tell us about the president from the best disaster movie you've talked about so far, Love Actually?
The president from Love Actually, played amazingly by Billy Bob Thornton, hits on the new British Prime Minister's tea girl to the point where the Prime Minister throws a bitch fit and talks about Harry Potter at a press conference. This man is a certified Chad, and I love that he undermines Britain. I would absolutely vote for this man. I don't really know too much about his policy.
I think he might just be the better version of John Travolta's portrayal of Jack Stanton, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like he's also sleazy, but like in a more lovable way.
It's time to move to Jeremiah Edward Bartlett, aka Jed! Exclamation point. The Catholic Democrat, MS diagnosed economist turned president, played by Martin Sheen, was a two-termed president from 1999 to 2007. Yeah, I just think he's a little like milquetoast.
And Met is looking a little light here.
Best thing he does, in my opinion, is when he appoints John Goodman as active president for like 5 days.
That is pretty base. What a list.
I think there's a surprising amount of electable and presidents that we'd campaign for. I really thought there'd only be like 2, maybe 3 in that would actively campaign for tier.
There were some surprises.
Remember, guys, at the end of the day, none of it really matters. It'll all be funny in hindsight, and it'll be funny to future generations to come. They're going to make movies based off whoever is the president right now. They're probably not going to be very good.
Yeah, I'm excited for Pixels too.